Okay, so if you've watched the Marvel Avengers movies, which I hope you have, there is a scene in the Endgame movie, okay, the Avengers Endgame movie, where Captain America is fighting, okay, and all of a sudden he picks up Thor's hammer, okay. By the way, it was a crazy scene for a lot of fans. Okay, because remember, only Thor could pick up Thor's hammer, right? So Captain America ends up picking Thor's hammer, and it's just a wild scene. So JavaScript Executor interface is Thor's hammer, and when we use it, it's very similar to Captain America using that hammer. Okay, so JavaScript Executor interface is basically a superpower that we can use when it comes to Selenium Test Automation. Okay, and we're going to talk about how to use it, when to use it, why we should use it, and the bad or the downsides of JavaScript Executor interface. Okay, so the JavaScript Executor interface in Selenium allows you to execute JavaScript code within your WebDriver script. This is particularly useful when you need to interact with elements or perform actions that are not easily achievable using Selenium's built-in methods. Okay, so let's stop there. Well, what does that mean, useful when we need to interact with elements or perform actions that are not easily achievable using Selenium's built-in methods? So what built-in methods are we talking about? We're talking about click, get text, switching to alerts or handling alerts to windows and so on, right? So why won't they work, right? And that's the thing. That's a very interesting topic that you guys will encounter or learn more with experience. A lot of it is because, for example, you could be working for companies where you have to be connected to a virtual private network, and that either slows down your internet and causes the rendering of the web page to load a little longer, or it could be faster as well in some cases. Okay, you could just be encountering some really interesting scenarios with some different modern platforms as well, where you're clicking on an element but it's not working, and you inspected the element correctly and it's just not working, and you make sure that the element you want to click on is not inside a frame or anything like that. So you think of slowing down your program like 5-10 seconds, and then maybe it works, and then you find yourself pausing your program for such a long time when you definitely do not want to do that. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we can use JavaScript Executor interface, how it works, and how we should use it at times when we need to. Okay, so to use, cast the WebDriver instance to JavaScript Executor like this right here. So we're going to use this JavaScript. We're going to make a reference to the JavaScript Executor interface. We're giving a reference variable, and then in parentheses here, we're passing JavaScript Executor again, and we're passing the driver as an argument. Remember that in Java, we cannot create objects of interfaces. We can just make indirect references to them. Okay, so use the execute script method to run JavaScript code. So after we do this, we have to use a method that's called execute script. Okay, and there's an example here. For example, clicking on an element, where first we inspect that element here. Okay, and we assign it to a variable element of type web element, and we use the JS executor, the variable name that we wrote here, JS executor dot, and then we call the method execute script, and this execute script can expect several arguments. In this example, it's expecting 2 arguments, which is a string argument here, and then the web element as the second argument. Okay, and that's how it would click on the element that we'd like to talk about, or that we like to click on. Okay, so you see this right here, this arguments 0 here. We'll talk about that as well. But here's the thing, you don't really need to know a lot of this, because this will require you to learn JavaScript as well. To have a decent understanding of this is more than enough, because there's just so much we can do with JavaScript Executor interface. Now, using the JavaScript Executor interface can be powerful, but it should be used carefully. Okay, ensure that you understand JavaScript and the potential implications of executing JavaScript code within your test scripts. So again, you could be using JavaScript Executor interface, but if you don't use it carefully or if you use it too much, you could get inconsistent results, especially when you run on several browsers. Why? Again, because the rendering of the pages could take longer in some browsers than others. This also has to do with network speed as well, and so on, okay? But we'll go ahead and discuss this more in this video and also the later videos as well, okay? So the JavaScript Executor interface in Selenium provides a wide range of capabilities, okay? A wide range of capabilities. I'm just gonna talk about a few. Okay, so for example, scrolling. We can scroll to the top of the page using this code here, okay, the execute script, and then the window.scroll to, and so on. We can scroll to the bottom of the page using this code right here. We can handle alerts. So for example, we can accept an alert or dismiss an alert, and so on. We can modify the CSS, so we can change the background color of an element. This is the sample code of how you could do that. We can use it for debugging purposes as well. We can use it for window and frame handling. We can use it for custom interactions like drag and drop, like custom mouse and keyboard operations as well, like we talked about actions class. And then lastly, let me just make the point, executing complex actions. Okay, so you can execute more complex JavaScript actions that require custom logic and manipulation of elements. This requires you to understand JavaScript, and if you understand it well, you can pretty much do a lot with JavaScript Executor interface. Okay, send keys, clicking, and so on, uploading files, and so on. Okay, which we will discuss in the later videos as well. Okay, so let's go over to VS Code. Here, I created a class called JS_executor, okay, .java, and here I have code that we've been using in the previous videos that navigate to the practice site. Okay, so let me talk about lines 25, 27, and 28. Let me go ahead and uncomment these lines here. Let me go 27 and 28. Okay, so here I'm using actions class to scroll down to an element of the page. And I want to show you this because with many projects, we actually use JavaScript Executor to scroll down or scroll into the view of an element instead of actions class. And we'll discuss why in just a moment. So I'm using actions class right now to scroll down or to move to an element on the bottom of the page. Okay, let's go ahead and run this program and see how it works. And by the way, I'm scrolling down to this mouse hover button here on the practice page right here. Okay, so let's see how this works. So I'm gonna go ahead and run this program. The browser opens, and then Selenium scrolls down and the program stops right here. Okay, so you saw where it brought the mouse hover button. Selenium can see it, okay? And that's what we wanted, but sometimes this is not enough. For example, what if we wanted to scroll down a little bit more so we can see the options of this button here, okay, or of this mouse hover example here, okay? So in the previous videos, we decided to pick another element to scroll down to so that we can bring this mouse hover button higher, okay? But now let's scroll down using JavaScript Executor interface. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and comment this out right here, and I'm gonna use lines 33 and 34 as well right here. Okay, I actually need to come back and comment out 27 again because we need to use this argument, which is the web element. Okay, so remember, first we need to cast the WebDriver instance to JavaScript Executor just like this. And then I'm using the reference variable JS_executor and the method execute script. And then here we have two arguments. This arguments at index 0 scroll into view true, and then the element we want to scroll to, okay? And what I'm expecting is I'm expecting Selenium to scroll down to this element, but let's take a look at how Selenium does it, okay? So the browser opens and it scrolls down, and there you go. Okay, so you saw how it brought the element higher, but what did it actually do? And this is important to understand on how JavaScript Executor interface scrolls into the view of an element. Okay, so if you notice here, it brought us down to the very bottom of the page. It actually scrolled into the view of this element. But here's the thing, the page cannot scroll down anymore. Okay, so if the page was longer, okay, let's say the page was longer, we could keep scrolling down. What JavaScript Executor interface does is it brings the element to the very top right here. And you'll see that whenever you're scrolling to an element, it'll bring the element to the very top so that Selenium sees it. And that is very convenient for us when we want to scroll into the view of an element rather than using actions class as we discussed, okay? Or as we previously showed, okay? So this is why in most projects, okay, or members or QA engineers would prefer to use the JavaScript Executor interface to scroll into to the view of an element, okay? So that is a big plus on how to scroll into the to an element here, okay? Arguments at index 0, what is that? So basically, arguments object is an array-like object that is automatically available within the body of a function, okay? And it contains all arguments passed to the function when it's called. Now, you don't need to know this by heart. You don't need to memorize it and so on. Why? Because you can manipulate this and you can write different arguments and so on that could do something else, okay? So I'll show you later in the video, in the course, I'll show you later how to store this into a common method so we can organize the methods that we actually need for our test automation. But you don't need to memorize this and everything like this, folks. A lot of folks will just go on Stack Overflow or even nowadays ChatGPT to provide the code to you using JavaScript Executor on how to click on an element or send keys or upload files and so on, okay? So that's there. Now, let's talk about what we mentioned, being careful. What does that mean? And let's talk about how JavaScript Executor interface actually works. So with Selenium, when we run a test, okay, Selenium actually needs to wait for the page to load so that it can interact with the web elements on the page. The elements need to be displayed for Selenium to interact with them appropriately, okay? Now, JavaScript Executor interface does not wait for the page to load or for the elements to be displayed. So how does it work then if sometimes the elements are not displayed? JavaScript Executor interface interacts directly with the DOM, okay, the HTML information of the web page. And in most cases, the HTML information of a web page will always populate entirely first before the elements on a page even display entirely, okay? Because of that, you could actually click on a button and your test case could go so fast that your test could fail because JavaScript Executor interface did click on an element, but the page didn't fully load, okay? And that could cause issues. So what is one of the best ways to use this JavaScript Executor interface when automating applications? So what I've done here is I've added a sleep here, a hard sleep before using it. Now, here's the thing about sleeping your program. Okay, we call this a hard sleep. Let's kind of revisit what the sleep method does in Java. The sleep method pauses your program in its entirety time that was specified here. So we're specifying 2 seconds. That means that the program will pause or stop for a complete 2 seconds. We haven't talked about the synchronization methods of Selenium yet on using the explicit waits and the implicit waits. That will be discussed in a later video. Okay, but that's something to understand. Now, here's the thing though. Okay, a lot of folks or there are folks out there who are against using hard sleeps in your programs. And in many cases, so am I, because you're not really supposed to be slowing down your test cases so much. All these weights add up. And if you're running, let's say 50, 100 test cases and you have hard sleeps everywhere, you're going to prolong the duration of your test automation results. Okay, so there are different ways or different type of weights we can use. However, it's okay to use it sometimes, for example, in this example here, right, where we are giving we're allowing the page to load, right, for at least 2 more seconds before JavaScript executor interface does something that we want it to do. Okay, that way we prevent our test cases from failing because execution was too fast. And if you're an architect or you're a lead and you're leading a team of test engineers and you have to conduct code reviews, this is something important to take into account. Remember that automation is to help us do what we are already doing better. But realistically, how many users will actually use an application at the speed that Selenium automates applications? Till this date, there has been no single user that can use an application so fast the way that Selenium automates test cases. So if this were to fail because Selenium is not clicking or your program is not clicking on an element because the time execution was too fast, that's not an appropriate bug to report, because a user will never use the application as fast as you think they would. Okay, so there again, we need to simulate the exact behavior or the exact actions that the users will take on or will perform on an application, right? But again, they're not robots, they're not fast, okay? And they definitely cannot control the speed of browsers, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? So in most cases, one of the best ways to use this is to sleep the program before you use JavaScript executor interface, okay? Now, in regards to these arguments, again, don't stress yourself over it. I will provide you with additional methods on how to, we do have a whole set of JavaScript executor methods that we will discuss in the next videos as well, especially when we talk about or when we start developing our framework. Don't worry, all of that will be covered for you, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and comment this out here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to now uncomment 37 and 38 out, where I'm going to click on an element using JavaScript executor interface, okay? Just to show you that we can also click. Let me go ahead and comment out line 33 because we need it, okay? So there it is, okay? So I want to click on this contact us link here, this contact info, which is right, let's see, this link right here, okay? I want JavaScript to click on this. So what we'll do first, actually, let's actually scroll down to the web page. So let me go ahead and bring this code back here. Okay, so first JavaScript is going to scroll down the page to this hover button, and then it's going to click on this contact info link here, okay? So let's go ahead and run the program and let's see how this works. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and run it. Selenium opens. Let's see, the page scrolls down and it went ahead and clicked on this contact info link, okay? And it takes us to the Chroma Tech Academy webpage, as you can see. So it worked. The whole point of this was to show you that we can perform the same actions using JavaScript executor interface as we could with the Selenium built-in methods, okay? And we can do that. The thing is, you have to use it responsibly. In many cases, use JavaScript executor as your last resort, okay? Don't just use it right away or start going crazy with it, because it's not intended to be used that way, okay? So there are a lot of other things we can do that we'll cover in the later videos. For example, when we start generating reports or taking screenshots, okay, we can actually highlight or color certain elements so that we can see them on the reports as well, and so on, okay? So go ahead and write this code out, take your time, and I'll see you guys in the next video.